Well, it's a star-studded male panel. The Alternative Premier, the Labor Party leader, Chris Minns, and the Deputy Premier, John Barilaro. Gentlemen, good evening to both of you. Deputy Premier, can I come to you first? What is happening in Sydney, indeed New South Wales, is affecting all of Australia. We're a Commonwealth, but the only thing we have in common is that we're now locked off from one another. In the 24 hours till 8 p.m. last night, there were 65,322 people tested. 97 were positive. You never tell us how old they are, what were their comorbidities, how many were mild, how many were serious. But nonetheless, of those tested, 0.14% tested positive. According to the World Health Organization updated figures, 98% of these were mild, 2% serious. So that means of those tested, 0.0028% are serious. John Barilaro, how long do you stick to this strategy of standing the state on its head?
Well, Alan, it's clear that our concern continues to be what's happening in the community, and that is those community infections. And the reality here is that we haven't got control of the spread of the virus in Sydney, and we just can't take the risk. What we're seeing is the infection hitting different age groups. We've had a couple of deaths, and this is not me scaring the public.
Oh, not hell, like hell it's not. Hang on, Barra, 0.0028%, and you're not scaring people by shutting the whole joint down. Chris Minns, your thoughts?
Well, I'm worried about this disease, Alan. I've been saying it on the program for the last 18 months, but I'm also seriously worried about the government's financial support package for New South Wales. I think there's going to be businesses that shut down and employees that lose their jobs because the package from the federal government and the state government is not going to be enough to cover them as we get through the next few weeks. No one should lose their job. No business should go out of business because they've done the right thing and listened to their own government's health orders. It's an urgent issue in New South Wales. And for the life of me, I've got no idea why JobKeeper wasn't reintroduced into New South Wales. It's a system that worked. It saved the country during the last lockdown. And I think it's terrible that it hasn't been reintroduced into New South Wales for this one.
OK, well said. But John Barilaro, look, I've known you for a long time. In southwest Sydney, we've now got mounted police, dog squads, highway patrol, Pol Air and Police Transport Command, when in all of New South Wales, 0.0028%, for God's sake, are serious. Are we going to frighten, intimidate and terrify people because they mightn't be tested or mightn't be vaccinated?
No, Alan, we aren't doing that. But what we are doing is making sure that we somehow contain this virus. The worst thing for me would be for this virus to get into the regions. And you'll sit here tonight and argue that we haven't had a case of regional rule in New South Wales. But is that at all possible? Because of the restrictions we've put in place, the travel restrictions?
You mean to say you can't control 0.0028% of the population who might be serious without shutting the whole state down? I mean, Gladys Berejiklian has said the Delta strain is a game changer. You can't compare the way we are treating it now with other strains. Barra, are you aware of an official English study last week, Technical Briefing 18, which shows that the case fatality rate from Alpha is 1.9%, the first strain, from Delta 0.2%, which is on a par with the average flu. So the case fatality rate is 10 times lower for Delta than for the original strain. Have you been briefed on that?
Of course we've been briefed on it, Alan. And we get briefed on the issues at hand. We get briefed on how many people are in ICU. We get briefed on how many people are in hospital. We get briefed on how contagious this is, Alan. This is a contagious part of the virus.
Can we see this advice? Chris Minns, I mean, the public out there say, where is this advice? I can't see it. Can you?
No, we haven't been given the advice, and we've made repeated requests to make it public. I think it's important. I mean, communication is key here. You mentioned earlier southwestern Sydney. You had Guys Gary earlier on the program. We need to communicate with people, speak up to them, engage with them about the situation, what the circumstances are on the ground. It's the best way of ensuring compliance with the health orders, and also that the degree and length of the lockdown is as short as possible. I am worried, particularly in southwestern Sydney, that there hasn't been communication with the local members, with the mayors, with community leaders, and you've got a situation where people may be fined, not because they want to willfully break the law or defy the health orders, but they haven't been told what they are and they don't understand it. This is such
you're
an
100%
important issue,
correct.
and we don't want people fined
You're-
for doing the
you're
right
100
thing and listening to their own government.
You're 100% correct. See, Barra, you've got Berejiklian saying, the point, get back to normal, is 80% vaccinated. Currently, Australia don't even have 10%. You're talking to the people of Australia now, and particularly New South Wales. Are you telling us that until we get to 80%, we're going to be locked down?
Well, absolutely not. We're not talking about 80%. We may have said that in the past. What we are focused on is the vulnerable age group. But the vulnerable age group, and they're running at about 60 or 70%.
Well, why don't you look after them and let everyone else get on with their lives?
Well,
why don't you look after them?
By September, October, Alan, we'll probably have 50, 60% of the population also vaccinated. So that's all good and proper in relation to planning for the future. But
Barra, you've got you've got people fully vaccinated who are locked down. And you're trying to persuade people to be vaccinated. Why would you be vaccinated when you're fully vaccinated and then your government says, but hang on, I know you're fully vaccinated, but you can't go anywhere? I mean, it doesn't make sense, Barra.
Because we still have low numbers of vaccination. And I want to pull Chris up on something that he said earlier. He said that the local members, the community leaders weren't briefed. That's actually not true. They were all briefed. We actually sought their advice. We reached out to those
members out there
to make sure.
Alan, it's not true. Look, I wouldn't come on your program at a time like now, John. I wouldn't come on and mislead you, the viewers, or the people of New South Wales. I can promise you, before that order was introduced into southwestern Sydney, the local members were not briefed and the local mayor was not briefed. Now, I'm not trying to mislead anybody. We need to learn from mistakes that have been made so they're not repeated. It's too important to get it wrong, John, and I wouldn't mislead the audience tonight.
Well, you're calling it a mistake. You're playing politics. No, hang on.
No, that's not true, and that's not fair. You know I haven't done that this entire time.
Mate. Oh, no, let's be honest here, mate. You support the government's lockdown. You support the government's actions on...
I said that at the very beginning of the program. Oh, this is silly.
...politics for your local members. And what we have is an outbreak.
John, Alan and John, this is outrageous to suggest that I've misled the viewers tonight. I have not done that under any circumstances. For the last 4 weeks, I've done nothing but back the government's health advice, and you know that, John. But don't say on the program tonight that the local members... When the local members were briefed when they weren't, that's not fair to the 3 members that represent southwestern Sydney, and it's not fair to the 2 million people that live west of Parramatta.
We're out of time, but I'll say this, Barra. I want you to take a message away. There are 0.0028% of those people in New South Wales who've tested quote-unquote serious. And you're locking down the whole state, and your leader says the normal is 80% vaccination. And out there is uncertainty. No one knows when their shop can be open again. No one knows when they go into business. No one knows whether they should employ people or sack people. Barry, you're smarter than this. You go back to your mob and tell them we're going down the wrong road, change direction. I thank you both. I wish we had an hour to discuss it, but it's been very informed and spirited. Chris Minns, the Labor leader, and Barra, how do you judge that out there? You tell me. What do you reckon of it? 0414 000 848.